Gandharvika Devidasi from Texas.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call and giving your sweet association this morning. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. This is Pankaj Patel, Prahlanananda from Las Vegas. And I understand I'm going to give the class today. And then pranam to everyone who has joined this class. Thank you very much. Jai Sri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Prahlanananda Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for joining the call and giving your very precious time and association. And we are all eagerly waiting for your class, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Anybody on the call would like to introduce themselves? Before handing over the call to you, Prabhu, I would like to read the quote for the day by Srila Prabhupada. So, quote for the day from Srila Prabhupada, September 9. You mentioned that your pathway has become filled with stumbling blocks, but there are no stumbling blocks. I can kick out all those stumbling blocks immediately, provided you accept my guidance. With one stroke of my kick, I can kick out all stumbling blocks. Letter to Krishna Das, September 9, 1972. Jai. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for giving your very valuable time and association this morning and giving the chapter summary of 41 of Srila Prabhupada's Lilarmta. Prahlanananda Prabhuji, I hand over the call to you. Please take over. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Shama Supriya Mataji, for warm welcoming. I would like to introduce Prahlanananda Prabhuji. Prahlanananda Prabhuji is a disciple of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. Got initiated in 1984 at ISKCON Nairobi Temple. Graduated as physician from Baroda Medical College, MS University in 1977. Practiced tropical medicine at Nairobi, Kenya till 1995. Migrated to US in 1995 and preaching in Las Vegas since 1997 with Srila Prabhupada book distribution mission as our prime service. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I'm very, very happy to introduce you. And you always quote verses when you have realization. Whenever I see you, I wanted to say this. Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. Always you are in just completely absorbed in Krishna Katha, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. I'm really very fortunate to introduce you. Thank you for accepting our request and coming on the call and glorifying Srila Prabhupada. Please take over, Prabhu. Hari Bol.
Thank you very much, Mataji. And everyone, I touch the feet of all Vaishnavas whenever I come across, mentally offering my obeisances to everyone. And, the mercy of Srila Prabhupada is universal. Anyone who accepts his mercy is going to go to Lord Krishna's feet and achieve Krishna Prem. I'm giving this class for the first time on Srila Prabhupada Lilarmta. So I'm requesting Mataji whether I can sing a small song by Narottam Das Thakur, which glorifies the spiritual master. Is it okay?
Yes,
yes, okay. So this is a very nice song by Narottam Das Thakur, and it's called Vaishnava Vignapti, prayer to Vaishnava, and this is from Prarthana, and its words are Ei bar karuna karo Vaishnav Gosai. So that's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stanza Prarthana. And I'll sing shortly like that, and then we can switch on to this is a very nice prayer, which I always sing in glorification of Sri Prabhupada. And so if you want to sing together, you can sing, but keep mute so that it does not, give echoes or like that. Okay? So thank you very much. Ei bar karuna Guru Vaishnav Gosai. Ei bar karuna Guru Vaishnav Gosai. पतिता पावना तुम विनय के हो नाई पतिता पावना तुम विनय के हो नाई एक बार करुणा करो वैष्णव गोसाई यारे निकट गेले पाप दूर जाय यार निकट गेले पाप दूर जाय हे मोन दयाल प्रभु के बा कोथा पाय हे मोन दयाल प्रभु के बा कोथा पाय गंगार परसे होइले पश्चाते पावन गंगार परसे होइले पश्चाते पावन दर्शने पवित्र करो ए तुम्हारे गुण दर्शने पवित्र करो ए तुम्हारे गुण हरि स्थाने अपराधे तारे हरि नाम हरि स्थाने अपराधे तारे हरि नाम तुमा स्थाने अपराधे नहीं परित्राण तुमा स्थाने अपराधे नहीं परित्राण तोमार हृदय सदा गोविंद विश्राम तोमार हृदय सदा गोविंद विश्राम गोविंद कोहे न मोरे वैष्णव पराण गोविंद कोहे न मोरे वैष्णव पराण प्रति जन्म कोरी आशा चरणेरा धूली प्रति जन्म कोरी आशा चरणेरा धूली नरोत्तम कुरु दया अपनार बोली नरोत्तम कुरु दया अपनार बोली हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राज कचार्य आष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद अभय चरणार भक्तिवेदांत गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय. So this is a very nice song which I dedicated to Srila Prabhupada and all my gurus, and if you do this simple prayer with heart, the mercy is already showering. So with that we'll start with Prabhupada Lilarmta. Prabhupada Lilarmta is such a nice book. It's actually not a book, it's a spiritual book. Just like you and me hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is Bhagavan Krishna's katha with his devotees. How Bhagavan Krishna interacts and gives love to his devotees is known as Bhakta Vatsal. So the whole Bhagavatam, Srila Vyasadeva is like that. Next is Chaitanya Bhagavat, Vrindavan Das Thakur. There is another nectar. Next, Chaitanya Krishna Das Kavira. That's another. So I have read these three. I always feel so joyful. And when I read Prabhupada Lilarmta, I said, this is now in Parampara. Right? Srila Das Goswami has written in such a nice language and such a nice emotion that you cannot stop reading this Bhagavatam and see tears. Right? Prabhupada Maharaj has done such a mercy on fallen souls that you cannot repay his debt. Once I was in Nairobi, and there was one gentleman who came from London. He is the BBC chief anchor, right? He's a black married man. And he was giving some small talk in our temple here in Nairobi. I started crying. He says, who would come at this age of 70 from India and deliver fallen souls like us? So Prabhupada Maharaj is Sakti Aves Avatar of Bhagavan Krishna. That is what Hari Sauridas Prabhuji in his transcendental diary, in the appendix he has written this. The article that Sri Prabhupada is a Aves Avatar of Bhagavan Krishna. Very good. So with this small introduction, I'll go to the 41st chapter of Srila Prabhupada Lilarmta, which is the battle for Bombay. Right. And there is another nice book, which is known as I'll Build You a Temple. Right. It's a nice book. Maybe you're not able to see it properly, but it's a nice book by Giriraj Swami. And this describes the complete battle of Juhu. Giriraj Swami is the one who ran through the whole battle. And he was a young man. And he has written this nice book. I have read it, and I recommend everyone should read it. And it's so amazing that, Prabhupada Maharaj did this battle. And what battle reminds us of what battle? Anyone? The battle reminds of Kurukshetra.
Kurukshetra.
Kurukshetra is a battle. Dharma Kshetra, Kurukshetra, Samveta Yudhsava, Mamka Pandavas Jaiva, Kim Kurvata Sanjay. Sanjay answered what? Sanjay said, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partha Janudata, Tatra Sir Vijay Bhuti, Dhruvanati Matirmama. Right? So, in this battle, the character is Giriraj Swami. He is in position of Arjuna. Yeah? Bhagavan Krishna's position taken by Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, right? And the fight is against that Duryodhana, who was Mr. Yan and his wife also. So this is very nice comparison whenever I read that, and I really enjoy that. All right. So at the end of in this book by Giriraj Prabhu, there is a complete timeline given at back in the appendix. So I'll just little give you the timeline. The whole story actually started in March, April of 1971. I remember I was still a student in med school, 1971. All right. And in that he has written that at the Cross Maidan Pandal, Srila Prabhupada revealed the plan for ISKCON Bombay Center to his life members. Prabhupada had a lot of life members in support of his mission. So he revealed that plan in that March, April of 71. And then in December of the same year, 1971, Mr. Nair wrote to Srila Prabhupada offering to sell the Juhu land, which was known as Nair Wadi. Mr. Yan was Nair, and his land was Nair Wadi. So that's what the first step which happened in December, on December 1st of 1971. Then on the 11th of October, October 72, Prabhupada Maharaj wrote a letter from Manila, Philippines. Right? And there what he summarized is given at the end of chapter 40, the one chapter before this one of 41. And I'll summarize that one little later, what he wrote in that letter. Now the story goes into 1972. That was in February 8, Srila Prabhupada entered agreement with this Nair to buy this land called Nair Wadi. And February 25th, ISKCON took the ownership of this land. On March 17, Sri Radharas Vihari arrived from Akash Ganga building to Juhu's Hare Krishna land. Then cornerstone laying ceremony, and Srila Prabhupada appointed Giriraj as president of ISKCON Bombay. These all took place during that March of 1972. Now, after that, in the September 1st, Janmashtami, Sri Radha Vihari moved to their semi-permanent temple on that land. Right? And then on November 24th, Srila Prabhupada meets Nair in Hyderabad, entered the new purchase agreement. And on December 4th, Tamal Krishna, Syam Sundar Prabhu, they cancelled that agreement. So the story of this 41st chapter is up to that. There are 3 dates mentioned in this chapter. October 17th, when Srila Prabhupada was in Vrindavan, October 17 of 1972. And then November 11th of 1972 was in Hyderabad. And then November 25, Prabhupada came to Mumbai, like that. So this is roughly the kind of outline of this chapter. Out of this, the last section of where Prabhupada was in Bombay is the one which is very interesting. The other is also, but it's kind of, introduction that what is happening and like that. But the last is a really crux, like, the battlefield like that. And just like Bhishma was, Arjun put him on that barrel like that. Bhagavan Krishna took care of this Mr. Nair himself. Right? That also comes. That's so interesting like that. Okay, so to start with this, I first of all remind you one sloka of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavan Krishna has told us to do what? To remember him all the time. Anyone knows that sloka? He says, during the battle, you remember me all the time. And we are fighting battle against Maya, battle against all our, our Dehatma Buddhi and all the Sadaripus and all that. So that sloka is Tasmat Sarv.
Okay, I thought Manmana Bhavamat.
And that's also good. That's the same as that. But this is Yuddha really. So he says, Tasmat Sarvese Kalesu Mam Anusmar Yuddhyacha. And what you have to do? Mayarpit Manobuddhir. Mavi Vesyasi Asamsaya. So we are fighting all over, all the time with our mind. Mind is our own very great enemy. Right? And at the same time, very nice friend also. If we put him in touch with Lord Krishna, the mind will become a very good friend. That also is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita like that. All right. So I'll summarize it, some points which ends the chapter 40th, and then we'll go to this. All right. So at the end of 40th chapter, it's Srila Satsuru SDG, Satsuru Goswami writes that in Manila, Prabhupada carefully considered his position regarding the Juhu property and concluded that he would come out victorious. He listed the points of his agreement in a letter to Giriraj. He wrote about 8 points, which are so important. First, he says, we have fulfilled all the conditions as purchaser. And Mr. Nair had purposefully delayed with a motive to cheat us, and he had done with some others in this connection. Mr. N had done some same procedure with another company known as company number C. That's what his title, C. And he had cheated them. The land was also in problem with the court case going on. But still Prabhupada writes that. But this time he cannot cheat us because we are in possession of the land and our deity, Radha Krishna, is installed there. Therefore, we must immediately go to the court for enforcing him to execute the conveyance immediately. Conveyance is the legal term for transfer of property, illegal transfer on paper, like that, in the recorder's office. Even if the court case goes on for a long time, still our business there cannot be stopped. Without going to the court, we cannot make any compromise with him. But I think we can arrange the full amount of 14 lakhs to get out this rascal out of the scene. But we cannot do it without going to the court. Otherwise, we shall become a party for breaking the purchase agreement. Therefore, we have to go to the court before making any compromise. So this is the prelude. This is the introduction of chapter 41, where we stand, where we are in the fight, like that. So the chapter starts with the battle for Bombay. And Srila Prabhupada is in Vrindavan on October 17, and 1972. That's where he started. And you see, Sasrudas writes that Prabhupada had come to Vrindavan to observe the Kartik season, October 16, November 14. He planned to lecture daily at Samadhi of Rup Goswami in the courtyard of Radha Damodar temple, speaking from the nectar of devotion, his own translation of Rup Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. So that's where the introduction starts like that. And then Prabhupada, although he was interested in building a center for Vrindavan itself, and he was still waiting for news from the Bombay. So he says he would now, like a general engaged on a different front, he awaited word from his lieutenants in Bombay. So are these lieutenants? Tamal Krishna Goswami, they're Shamsundar Prabhu. They are all in Bombay, and like that. So that's what the first part of it is showing, like that. That Srila Prabhupada is, although in Vrindavan, his mind is in like that. So in that section, he writes that Tamal Krishna Goswami, Swam Sundar, and Karandhar arrived in Bombay. Things had worsened, Giriraj informed them. When Mr. Ad had seen the notice in the newspaper publicly advising that ISKCON had entered into agreement for Juhu property, he had become furious. Giriraj had gone to him with folded hands and bowed down before him, but Mr. An would not be appeased. He had gone back to all his promises and had cancelled the sales agreement on the plea that the devotees had not obtained the deed within a 6 months period. The 2 lakh down payment he had claimed was now his, and the devotees should vacate the land immediately. So this was the trick he used to play. He was a sheriff of Bombay. So he knew the intricacies inside, and he had influenced some people also. So that's how he's playing trick. He gives some people land, takes the down payment, and then somehow find a fault with this person and tell them to go. And he goes to the extent of calling even hoodlums. All these kinds of things. He was a kind of a complete Duryodhan, like that. So what did he do? Mr. N had shut off the water supply to Hare Krishna land. Right? So all this was causing them a lot of problem. So Karandhar Prabhu said that first thing to do is to find a new lawyer. Right? And Tamal Krishna Goswami, Karandhar, Bhavanand, Syam Sundar, all they were forming a team. They're talking and find out what to do. And then as they discussed, they came to one conclusion, that this is impossible, mission impossible. That's what they thought. Right? And that's what they were thinking. Now, at the other end in Vrindavan, sitting in his room at Radha Damodar temple, Srila Prabhupada read the letter from Bombay. So they had written a letter that this is not possible. Right? So Prabhupada Maharaj was not to be defeated. He has Lord Krishna on his side. So all this is going on about like that. And then Srila Prabhupada goes to Hyderabad for preaching. That was on November 11th of 1972. Prabhupada had come to Hyderabad for Pandal program. Big crowds had attended his lecture, and wherever he went, even while getting out of the car, people surrounded him, touch his lotus feet. One time, one devotee walking with Srila Prabhupada asked him, Prabhupada Maharaj, why people are wanting to touch your feet? Anyone knows what Prabhupada said? I think it was in Hyderabad. He said, because I have no lust in my heart. It's completely washed of lust. All lust is opposite of Krishna Prem. So what that means, Prabhupada's heart is full of Krishna Prem. There is no trace of a lust. This is pure devotee. That's why people come and touch his feet. So that's why well. So Srila Prabhupada met with Mr. Nayan, who was also visiting Hyderabad at that time. Right? And they were cordial together like that. Now this Mr. N had come along with his also guru. There are so many gurus who are tantric and such kind of karmakandis gurus and all that. So he was believing in that. And Mr. N, his guru, and Syam Sundar all came to home of Panilal Priti, where Prabhupada was staying. And they all met there in order to solve some problem and come like that. So in that instant, what happened was that this Mr. N did not want to be influenced by Srila Prabhupada mentally. That's why he was with his guru. So what happened is after that, they were talking light, it was evening night, and then Prabhupada Maharaj says, we are tired. He says, okay, let's go to sleep. So both of them went to sleep in their room, that Mr. N and his guru. So Prabhupada Maharaj, after some time, called Kamal Krishna and said, go and get that Mr. N alone without waking his guru. Then Mr. N alone came and they formed a new contract. And they typed it out right away like that. And like that. And then the story goes to So in that paragraph, it says, Syam Sundar and Tamal Krishna Goswami flew back to Bombay with Mr. N that afternoon. According to the new terms, ISKCON would pay Mr. N the 5 lakhs of rupees for the government tax, and in return, Mr. N would execute the deed. But there was also a new time limit, 3 weeks. The devotees would have to work fast. Prabhupada himself would soon come to Bombay to settle the matter once and for all. So that's how this little story happened like that. Mr. N is like that Sakuni in that Mahabharata. He's playing so many tricks, and he's using all good, bad things to, make the money like that. So such people, in this world, there are Sur and Asur. The Asura, they're always going to, cause trouble to them. That's why Bhagavan Krishna comes, Paritrana is sadhuna vinasai chaduska. All right. So from the story, real story starts from Bombay now in November 25th. This is a long section, but it's very interesting. I think I'll read little like that. There's so many pages there. Okay. So November 25th, although Prabhupada had come to Bombay with hopes of finishing the land transaction, Mr. N was still delaying, despite the new agreement. Obviously, his stalling was simply part of his plan to cheat ISKCON. Srila Prabhupada waited many days in Bombay, finally departing for a Pandal program in Ahmedabad. He left behind instruction for his disciples to get the deed on the new terms or else take back the original 2 lakhs of rupees paid as down payment. Okay. In Bombay, the devotees learned that if they wanted to get back their down payment as well as the money they had deposited towards the 5 lakh gain tax, then they would have to cancel the new agreement. They were confused and their time was running out. So what they did, they canceled the new agreement, which was done in Hyderabad. On one morning, one Prabhupada's disciple, Visakha Devi Dasi, arrived in Ahmedabad from Bombay. Prabhupada called for her and told her to return to Bombay immediately with a message. Out of concern that his leaders in Bombay may not make a wrong decision and decide to relinquish the land, he told her to tell them that they should not under any circumstance cancel the agreement with Mr. N. Actually, he said, this is not a woman's job. But everyone else here is either engaged in the pandal or has not been with long to do this task. So Visakha Devi Dasi Mataji went back, and by the time she reached that, they had cancelled the agreement. Then the Giriraj called Srila Prabhupada by phone. Finally, Giriraj blurted out that they had cancelled the sales agreement. Prabhupada was silent. Then a voice that expressed both anger and resignation. He said, then everything is finished. That's what Prabhupada said. And they were all so much disappointed and depressed. Then Prabhupada says, I shall be the last man to give up the Hare Krishna land to the rogue Mr. N. All right? And this is where the real fight started now. So in next page, he says, so if using the land for missionary work was the obvious or external reason for Prabhupada's determination to keep his Hare Krishna land, then the internal reason was his personal commitment to their Lordship, Sri Radha Rasvihari. Certainly, Mr. N. They could never understand this. People outside, they think these statues are there. There are no statues. These they cannot. Avajananti ma mudham manusim tam masridam. Param bhavam ajanantam bhava bhut maheswara. So Sri Radha Rasvihari, if you try to contact them, they'll so happy to contact you. I remember my own personal story. I'm talking about 1986 or 80. My son was about 2 years old. He was born in 84. So my wife and my son, they went to Baroda a few days before. I had to also go to Baroda like that. So we had one camera at that time, there were no cell phones. So they went with that camera. So I told them to take pictures like that. And then when I went after a few days and I reached Bombay, then I said, if I had camera, I could go to Hare Krishna temple, take picture of Radha Rasvihari and put on one altar like that. That's what I was thinking. And I said, I don't have time, don't have camera. So when I'm coming back, I make sure I'll take camera and do like that. So that's how I went. Then after a week or so, 2 weeks actually, she stayed. And then I was coming back. I had the camera. My wife and child had left earlier. So then I said, okay, this time I make sure that I go. So I reached a little early. But the problem was the train reached late. Right now I had to catch the flight to Nairobi. So I said, what to do now? I have a camera, but I have no time. So I hired the taxi and went to the airport. Okay, everything was right like that. We checked in this, that, and we now boarded the plane. I was regretting. I said, Bhagavan Krishna, I came here, take your picture. I cannot take it. And that's why I was regretting. So I said, finally, okay, let me take some picture outside the airport here. That will remind me. So I took one or two. And then the plane is on the runway, taxiing, and then it's getting speed now, And then suddenly they announced that we are not flying. I said, what? And they found some mechanical problem, whatever. And they took us back. And you know where they accommodated us? Next to Hare Krishna land in that holiday. I just went there. It was 6 p.m., I remember. I went there and then put my things in my room. I went to Hare Krishna walking, but not far from there. And then took the pictures. I still have those pictures. Bhagavan Krishna is so merciful because we love Srila Prabhupada. If anyone loves Bhagavan Krishna, is said one. And Satsudabd Goswami has also quoted in his Lilarmta here that in the Adi Puran, Bhagavan Krishna tells Arjuna that Ye me bhakta jana partha. Oh partha, all these my devotees you see, Ye me partha jana partha. Na me bhakta te jana. They are not my devotees. Arjuna says, they are not your devotees. They are also Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. No. Then, who are your devotees? Then he says, Mad bhakta nam ye bhakta te me bhakta jana tama. Those who are my devotees, they are my real bhakta. So we have to become lover of Srila Prabhupada. How can you become lover of Srila Prabhupada? Do what he says. Do, and he becomes very extreme. He is available today. He's a liberated soul, just like Parsan. And he's Shakti Aves Avatar. So he can come right with you. And everyone knows that when you read Prabhupada's purpose, he's talking to you outright, comes out of the pages and tells you to do this. He says, distribute my books. 3 times he has said. In Los Angeles Temple, he gave the lecture, a very famous lecture. Distribute, 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 distribute my books. And that's what I enjoy doing it for all these years. We have a group of people here. We contribute some money, buy the books, and distribute XYZ, no charge. Just give it to them, and they will read one book, one page, and their life will change. That for sure. This is Prabhupada's assurance. So this is the real story like that. So this is what happened was, Prabhupada's fighting spirit to keep the land was so keen that sometimes appeared to be fighting for the fighting's sake. He sometimes even compared Mr. N to the demon Kans in Srimad Bhagavatam. I was comparing the Yudhishthira to Duryodhana, Kans like that. All right. So who had repeatedly tried to kill Krishna, just as Kans had employed many minor demons in his attempts to kill Krishna. So Mr. N had employed demonic agents like lawyers, friends, and hoodlums. Like that. So this is the story is going parallel like that. Prabhupada's feelings for anxiety and protectiveness extended to his disciples also. Although out of his duty, he often criticized and corrected them privately, before others he usually defended and praised them. When Dr. Patel, a Bombay physician, had criticized the way the devotees were living, not protecting themselves from mosquitoes, Prabhupada had said that because his devotees were liberated and did not identify with their bodies, such things did not trouble them. And he says, by Prabhupada's disciples' cancellation, the agreement of ISKCON's legal position had been weakened. But Prabhupada had faith that if the devotees just maintained possession of land, their position would remain strong. And this is one of the most favorable, statute in India, that possession by a tenant is very strong, right, as opposed to the owner. Like that. Prabhupada knew all these intricacies. He was a very astute businessman and pharmacist before that, and salesperson. So he knew all these intricacies like that. So that's where it says that during the last week of 1973, January, Prabhupada met with Mr. N at the residence of Mr. Mahadevia. Although Prabhupada's lawyers had filed a criminal case against Mr. N, Prabhupada wanted to attempt an out-of-court settlement. He had always been gracious and charming with Mr. N, and Mr. N had always appeared responsive and polite. But this time was different. Gone were the smiles and friendly words. The two were remaining barely civil to each other. After a few minutes, Prabhupada asked his disciple to leave the room. Right? Speaking in Hindi, Mr. N began accusing Prabhupada and the devotees of being connected with CIA. I'll come on Monday, Mr. N said tersely, with a check for 2 lakhs to pay back your down payment. All right, Srila Prabhupada replied. If you don't want to part with your land, then we'll leave. But think before you do this. Mr. N continued with accusing people. You people are calling yourselves owners of the land, but you are just big disturbance to the whole area, getting up at 4 and all this. So Prabhupada said, we do not claim to be the owner. Prabhupada replied, Krishna is the owner. This nobody can. Mr. N is a demon, he cannot understand. But even common man cannot understand. Prabhupada is such a intimacy with Bhagavan Sri Krishna. He says, I am not real owner. Krishna is already here on this land. Why are you bothering us so much? Simply take the money and give us the land. Or if you want to vacate, then prepare the check. Prabhupada had been speaking with restraint, but now his tone became angry. Bring out your check and we'll vacate tomorrow morning. No, we'll vacate tonight. Give us our money back. Have you got the money? Mr. N shouted, I'll remove the deities myself. I'll break the temple and remove the deities. That week, Mr. N was hospitalized after a severe heart attack. 2 weeks later, he died. This is how Bhagavan Krishna cannot tolerate his devotee being defeated. Just one switch, one heartbeat missed, and you're gone. All devotees, Bhagavan Krishna doesn't have to come here to kill all these demons. He can just by Brukuti Bhang, he can destroy the whole universe. What to talk of a few paltry demons. But why does he come? He comes for us, for Prabhupada Maharaj and his followers. He comes to blaze us, Paritrana Sadhuna. That's the real mood of Bhagavan Sri Krishna as Vrindavan Vihari, Radharas Vihari. When Prabhupada heard of Mr. N's death, he was at first silent. Then he quoted a verse Prahlad Maharaj had spoken following the death of his demoniac father Hiranyakashipu. Modet sadhurapi vruschik sarpahatya. Vruschik, the serpent and the, what do you call vruschik? Scorpions. If they are killed, even sadhu people, Prabhupada mentions that, his Guru Maharaj one time ordered a snake to be killed, and then he was disturbed that, how come Guru Maharaj is doing this like that? Then he came across this sloka of Prahlad Maharaj and this is sadhu way more like that. Then the battle did not get over. Now who comes? The woman comes. Mrs. N, although not legally astute as her husband, carried on the fight. And her lawyers, who were very eager to collect their fees, pursued even more intently than the litigation to drive out ISKCON. What happened? Then one day, without warning, Mrs. N launched a violent attack on the morning of June 1. While the devotees were attending their routine duties, a truck drove into the Juhu property. So this is how the process started of, dismantling the temple and like that. So one devotee, Manisvi, ran to telephone and called Mr. Mahadevia, who along with his friend Mr. Vinod Gupta rushed to Hare Krishna land to find the police dragging of the last protesting devotee by hair. She had been trying to close the doors to the altar to protect the deities when 3 policemen had wrestled her away. Mr. Mahadevia rushed to the house of sympathetic Jnana and Mr. Acharya and found his brother Chandra Mahadevia, wealthy businessman, a friend of Bal Thakur, the leader of one of the most influential political parties in Bombay. Mr. Chandra Mahadevia informed Bal Thakur of the emergency. At the instigation of a Hindu and under the order of Hindu municipal officer, a Hindu temple of Lord Vishnu is being demolished. Mr. Thakur in turn informed the municipal commissioner, who had denied knowing of any order to demolish the temple, who in turn phoned local ward office that had sent the demolition squad. The ward office sent a man to stop the demolition. The officer arrived around 2 p.m., just as the demolition squad had cut through the last pillars of and were dismantling the roof above the deities. The order to stop the demolition was given to the ward office in charge, who then stopped the demolition squad. Prabhupada was in Calcutta at that time of the attack, and when the devotees reached him by phone, he told them to organize the local ISKCON sympathizers, life members, and protest the attack by mass publicity. They should also expose the persons responsible. This would be very effective against Mrs. N and her party. So next morning, a photo of the demolished temple appeared on the front page of the Free Press Journal with headlines, "Unauthorized temple demolished by municipal authorities." So all this drama led to a lot of publicity for Hare Krishna temple. And a lot of his sympathizers came against like this, including Dr. Bali, Dr. C. Bali, Prabhupada also, is mentioned here like that. The devotees began to see the entire course of events as Lord Krishna's mercy, since many life members were now rendering valuable service to Prabhupada and Lord Krishna. And past, Prabhupada had stayed in the homes of many life members, preaching to them and their families, convincing them of his sincerity and of the noble aim of his movement. These friends and members, like Bhaguvai Patel, Bihari Lal Khandelwala, Ratan Mahota, Dr. C. Bali, and others, were acting not simply out of Hindu sentiment, but out of deep respect and affection for Sri Prabhupada. Giriraj, working with Sarajivat Lal, tried to convince the municipal council to authorize the rebuilding of the temple structure. While doing so, however, he discovered that Mrs. N had that very day, Friday, filed for court injunction preventing ISKCON from rebuilding. Justice Naina told Giriraj that he did not want to grant Mrs. N's request and that he would hear the devotee's case on the following Monday. This meant that the devotees had from Saturday morning up to Monday morning, 2 days to rebuild the temple. The devotees reasoned that although they had no actual permission to rebuild the temple, there was yet no law to stop them. If Justice Nain ruled against them, then to rebuild would be very difficult. They decided, therefore, to use the weekend to rebuild. Mr. Lal, a former contractor, helped rearrange materials, bricks, mortar, asbestos, seeds, and Mr. Sethi offered a crew of laborers. At 8 p.m. on Friday, the masons began their work, continuing throughout the night despite the rain. And on Monday morning, when the judge learned of the new temple, he declared, "What is built is built. No one can destroy the temple." When Prabhupada heard this news, he considered it a complete victory. The temple had been rebuilt, and the public opinion was swinging strongly in ISKCON's favor. So this is how Prabhupada Maharaj fought the battle. Yeah? And we should also fight battle, taking Prabhupada's shelter. And always, Giriraj has written in that book how he conquered lust, temptation. This Mr. N sent an ambassador car. He also came when he was negotiating with Giriraj. Giriraj was a very young boy from America. So what he did, he sat on one window, Mr. N, and then on the other window of the other, he put one prostitute. And he put Giriraj in the middle. And this woman, was doing all her business. And Giriraj Swami himself has written in that book that, my mind was rushing. Emotions were getting so strong. But then at the height of that, he says, what will Prabhupada feel when I do this? And that's where he rejected the whole emotion. Even that woman tried again 2-3 times. That's what he has written in that book. So taking shelter of Prabhupada can defeat great enemies like lust or whatever, temptations like that. So this is, have I taken more time? No, it's about 40 minutes. So that's okay. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining. And you can put your input or whatever if you want to. We still have a little time, right? Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for such a beautiful summary of the chapter. And you have given the summary of before chapter and this chapter. Thank you so much, Prabhu. What you said is very good, very correct, that each purport of Srila Prabhupada speaks to us. Well, so many instructions we get it. And sometimes we are trying to find out the answer for our question. We pick up a book and we try to read the purport of that chapter, any chapter, and suddenly we get the answer from that purport. The Prabhupada is speaking through his books, as you said, and whoever touches this book or read this book is going to definitely get Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu. You have so much of love for book distribution, so much of love for Srila Prabhupada that we can see that, and we by seeing you, I am getting more love for Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for your time. Very grateful to you. Krishna.
Also, I want to say, I've got 3-4 cartons of small books of Srila Prabhupada. This we buy, I get from LA, BBT. So any of our, group people wants some books to distribute, I can ship them from here, Las Vegas, anywhere in US, so that, we can distribute. So just now, we sent one big full set of Srimad Bhagavatam to someone in Yorba Linda, California, like that. So it is just for Prabhupada's pleasure. Right? We don't ask for any money, or we don't want. We have no such concern. So that's what I want to convey to everyone, that anyone who needs any small books, we can send them, and then they can distribute to XYZ. No problem. We don't want the money from anyone like that. Some people just take book and then just see like that, and then whatever they do, that's not our lookout. Our lookout is we have done our job. What is our job? To distribute book. If he not, another one will read. There was one policeman in New York subway. Right? He has written one story. I read it long back in BTG. Right? So he is checking, after the train is, vacated, he checks the compartment. So one day he read one back to Godhead. And his life changed. He has read of the policeman. So our duty is to spread this literature. Srila Prabhupada literature is our Paurusha. It's transcendental. It's just like touchstone. Anyone who comes in touch with that, his life will change. And his journey back to Godhead starts from that one step. Like that. So that's why I firmly believe that. It happened to me too. So that's how we should do Prabhupada's bidding. If we do Prabhupada's bidding, Bhagavan Krishna will be very pleased with us. There's no doubt about it. Very good.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances. Very, very wonderful summary, Prabhuji. Beautiful summary. And not only you have given summary, you have quoted so many Bhagavad Gita shlokas in between also. This is very wonderful correcting to Bhagavad Gita shlokas. And whatever you said, like 40th chapter summary and coming to 41st chapter summary, very, very wonderful, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prahlanananda Prabhuji, for coming on the call and giving us this nectarian summary. And it's always very, very nice to hear from pure devotees like you, Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada's summary. I'm out of world, Prabhu, after listening to your summary. Thank you so much, Prabhu. And can you give some tips of book distribution, Prabhu?
I have on my cell phone, there is once I was parked near there's a store known as grocery store called La Bonita here in Las Vegas, Henderson. So, it was hard. So my wife there and I was sitting in the car. Then I saw one homeless there, homeless guy, and he was sitting on that somewhere there like that. So people were done and said, I said, okay, I should give him some $5. So I went there. And I went there with $5 bill and chant and be happy book. All right. Then I went to him and I said, I'm giving you this. Make sure you don't smoke, don't drink alcohol. All right. Would you take this? And he says, yes. I said, okay, take this. And then I gave him the book. And then I took his picture and I made him speak the whole Hare Krishna mantra, and he spoke that. Let me see if I have it. It's a nice one.
Jai. Very, very wonderful, Prabhu.
Let me see if I have it. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prahlanananda Prabhuji, please accept my obeisances of the Srila Prabhupada. So nectarian Prabhuji to hear from you, Srila Prabhupada Lilarmta. And also thank you so much for quoting such beautiful verses every time after the Srimad Bhagavatam classes, your valuable comments and instructions. We're very grateful to have your association. Actually, you took us there in that time when this was happening. Please give us your blessings so that we can be able to render some service to Srila Prabhupada and spiritual masters. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Actually, I should thank you all, you Matajis. You know, sometimes Prabhupada used to say about his Western disciples. In the starting, he used to say that my Guru Maharaj has sent me all my fathers to help me in this, like that. This is what he used to say. All these white people, white-bodied devotees, used to say, my Guru Maharaj has sent all these nice fathers to take care of me. I'm their son. That's how in that tune, I'm telling all these Matajis are actually my mother. You know, my mother, she was devotee of Lord Krishna. Yeah? And actually, tomorrow is my birth date, 10th. I will be 69 tomorrow. So I was born in a very small village in near Dwarika, actually, you know, and was born at home. But my mother, she was Vaishnavi, she read Bhagavatam when I was in utero. She read Bhagavatam, bolo. Yeah, I was so lucky. And then when she expired some few years back, 5 years back, and I had to travel about every 3 months to Baroda from here, Las Vegas, like that, you know. And she came to Las Vegas before that 2 times. She didn't like to stay here. She wants to go back home. She was missing her company, like that. So the 4th time when I reached, in the morning, I reached her bed in Baroda, and she was in semi-conscious kind of state. And I said, Mom, Mother, Ba, I have come, you know. So she opened little eyes and then again like that. So I checked her pulse and everything. I said, oh, she's not in bad shape, like that. And there were nurses also looking after her there. So after that, I took baths, this, that. I did my rounds, this, that. And then I said, okay, let me check now. It was around 12 that time. Checked her pulse. The pulse was completely thready. Right? Thready pulse means now the heart is becoming very weak. Like that. And I said, oh, she's going now, you know. Then I called my brothers, sisters, and other relatives. I said, let's start reading Bhagavad Gita. We read some Bhagavad Gita. Then I read some Bhagavatam, like that. And then when I checked again, now it was more very feeble pulse. Then I said, now she's going. So we started Harinam Sankirtan, you know, and just did so much Harinam Sankirtan. And that's the time she passed away, during that Harinam Sankirtan. Right. So that's how I'm so grateful to my mom. And you are my moms. That you have started such a nice program. And I didn't know it until now. But anyway, I'm so grateful to Matajis who have started this group, actually. And it's going to deliver a lot of this. Sadhu Sang is Sri Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruv Maharaj. Everybody has asked Bhagavan Krishna only one thing: give me Sadhu Sang. Janme Janme Prabhu said. So this is just the same mercy which is coming from Bhagavan Sri Krishna Radharani and coming to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to us, to Srila Prabhupada, and to all our devotees, like that. So this is what we should do. We should be very infectious, as in the morning class they were saying, infectious. We should be infectious, spreading Prabhupada's love for everyone. My 2 children, they grew up with Prabhupada's picture and everything. They accept him as grandfather. The real grandfather, they know, but they always feel Prabhupada as a grandfather, like that. And they read the books and everything, like that. So this is how it is. I'm so grateful for allowing me to speak and, you know, to share my emotions. Like, did I show you that picture? Hold on. So, can you see? I don't know whether you'll be able to see.
If you have to remove the background, if you remove the background.
You know, it's a little difficult for me. Okay, but let me see if I can.
But still you can show, we will try to see.
Yeah, okay, let me see here. All right. Okay. Can you see this?
Yes, Prabhu.
This is a gentleman who
Yes,
was
Prabhu,
sitting.
we can
Yeah,
see.
he's homeless, and he's holding that book I gave him. Do you see that?
Hari Bol.
And let me see if he is. Okay, speak that thing again. Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. All right. Thank you. What's it? Hari Bol. Hari Bol. So that's what I made him speak. Did you hear?
Yes, Prabhu, we could hear that. Yes,
Yeah. So this is what I feel so much pleasure of doing this, somebody speak Harinam, his life will change. Next birth, he is on way back. Just by doing this one simple thing, So that's what I feel transcendental pleasure by doing this. And, I want to share this with others so that it helps like that. Thank you very much again. Anything
Thank
else?
you so much, Prabhuji, for sharing your personal experience also. Prabhuji, I have a question regarding this collecting Lakshmi for book distribution, Prabhu. Some will not be ready to give Lakshmi, but some will want books. So is it okay to give them books for free?
Yeah.
Or maybe how to collect Lakshmi every time we give a book?
What we do, I personally feel very, to ask someone for money by giving this. If somebody gives, sometimes in the temple here, this is not a ISKCON temple. It's a Sanatana Dharma temple. So that's where I started long back, and they gave me a slot of 2 hours to do preaching Bhagavad Gita for years, 20 years now. So that's where every Sunday, we go with 15, 20, 30, 40 books like that. And who are newcomers, they will take. And we don't ask for money. If they say, okay, we want to give you this, I'll take it, right? And put in my account where I can buy more books out of it. But we don't ask. And some of them, they think that we should donate some money to the temple. So they put in the hundi there, and then they put $5, $10, whatever like that. But, if somebody gives you, you should accept it in the service of Srila Prabhupada. Right? Even one time Prabhupada was sitting in Mayapur. Haridas Prabhu has written in his diary. Right? One poor farmer came, a very poor one. And he was sitting next to Prabhupada in that temple in Mayapur. And while leaving, he left 10 rupees note at Prabhupada's feet. Right? And then he went away. He writes that in diary that, next day Prabhupada, we were to go out. He was not budging from his seat. And I said, Prabhupada, let's go. The car is ready. He said, no. What happened to that 10 rupees note? I want answers. So they had to find out that 10 rupees note and give it to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada put it in. He says, this must go to Lord Krishna. So that Prabhupada Maharaj is so careful that use $10 in service of Prabhupada, not here and there. He's handling millions of dollars daily. But he is not, neglecting even 10 rupees from a poor person. That poor person is so fortunate that he came in touch with Prabhupada and donated 10 rupees, just like Sudama. So this is what it is. So we should accept. I accept it. Sometimes people give money, but I make sure that I use that money. We have one other gentleman coming in our class in the morning, Arvind Dax Prabhu. Everyone knows that. He's Arvind Dax from Chicago.
Yes, we know him.
So he sent me some donation. He said, Prabhuji, you buy books and give distribute. So I bought some books and I sent some back to him, say that you also distribute. Just yesterday, I UPS that to his, like that. So we should utilize everything in the service of Srila Prabhupada. Right? Everything. Pranayarthe dhiya vacha sreya macharit sada. Etavanjanma safalyam dehinam is desu. This is Bhagavatam sloka. We have got this deha. And its safalya, its success is only to use it in the service of Lord. How? Prane. Prane means our swas, with prana. Arthe means money. Diya, intelligence, and vacha, speaking. These four things. You can utilize any one. Right? All of them. Whatever comes, we are grihasthas, so we have to always look after what will happen to me in old age, if you have to go to hospital, this, that. So we have to keep some saving like that. But whatever little, from my practice in 1981, I made sure that, I donate some, whatever comfortable money I used to send to the temple. Right? And from 1981, April, I started practice to 95. March, when I left that practice. Except for 1 month, my practice was never lower than previous month. Kept on increasing like that. Why? I was making Lord Krishna my partner. Like that. I teach my sons also. Sons, you are earning money, but you must make sure that you part some money for Lord Krishna's mission, Lord Prabhupada's mission, like that. So regular donation. Like, make it Lord Krishna. And I think that Vivek Bandraji, you must have heard him. He's a very nice speaker. He said the same thing. I said, I was doing that from start, like that. This is another good book. I think I have shown you that before. It says the 7 habits of highly effective people. I don't know whether you can see that. This is written by Stephen Covey. All right. Do you believe Bhagavan Krishna's devotee? He's written on Bhagavad Gita basis. Yes? So this is so good. So thank you very much, everyone. And, let's pray to Srila Prabhupada to have mercy on all of us all the time. And we can go back to home, back to Godhead.
Dandavad Pranam Prabhuji. Thank you so much. I think Lalitangi Mataji has been trying to unmute herself a couple of times. So if Lalitangi Mataji is available, please go ahead first and speak after that.
No, nothing, Mataji. Just I felt so moved that you shared about your mom, Prabhuji, and very nice. Thank you so much for your such blessings and considering us your family. And always your book distribution efforts and every single thing that you say is very inspiring, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
The sound is breaking.
Yeah. I think Sham Supriya Mataji is having some internet issue. Yeah. Lalitangi Mataji, did you finish your sentence, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
Indulekha Mataji, please go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prahlanananda Prabhu. Wow, it is our such great fortune to have you in our association. You come every morning so early. It is very early for you, but still you are there every day and with complete attention. You would be listening. You have such wonderful points to share every day. And today it is really purifying for me to actually hear this Srila Prabhupada Lilarmta chapter from you, Prabhuji, and so happy that it is your birthday tomorrow and you are presenting on our forum today. So it's just so wonderful. And always when you talk about book distribution, we can see how much of eagerness you have, because this is what Srila Prabhupada wants. He wants us to actually distribute. And please, Prabhuji, if you can please bless me so that I can start book distribution. I really don't know even how to speak to people. So I have so much difficulty in just going out and reaching out to people, and really shy about that. But please, Prabhuji, with your mercy, with your blessings, definitely it is possible. I'm so happy to be hearing this class from you, Prabhuji. It was so blissful, wonderful class. And thank you so much for all of your tips on how to distribute books too.
Distributing book is such a transcendental pleasure, That's why if you just decide that, oh Lord Sri Prabhupada, oh Lord Sri Krishna, I want to help another jiva to get out of this material world. That's why I'll carry one small book in my pocket anywhere I go. My car is also full of all these small books. So there is one guy known as Vaisasik Prabhu in California, Silicon Valley. Have you heard of him? Vaisasik Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, he has written.
Yes.
He's such a great devotee, this book distributor, He says our sampradaya starts with Lord Brahma, and one of the four hands of Brahma, there is a book, Veda. So that is our goal. What is that? Book distribute. Right? Yeah, that's right. And these small books are so powerful atom bombs, they change somebody's life for good. Just few words like that. So I encourage all of you, even if you are a shy person, this, that you don't know. I'm also like that, But since I started doing this, that's how I get courage from the super soul. Right? Because there is super soul in some other person's heart also. Did I tell you a few days back also I was mentioning, there were two husband and wife, they were quarreling in the parking lot where I had parked. And we had to give them the books.
Yeah.
Like that. So that is how, be eager. Whenever I go out of a house, right, I took one book in my pocket and pray to Prabhupada. Make me meet someone whom I can give the book. I pray like that. Right? And I always lock my door and I say, Daivod Vijay Parduratya Vaitaranyastad Viryaga Mahamruta Magna Chitta. Soche Tato Vimukshyata Sindriyar Maya Sukam Bharam Vidvarto Vimudha. All these Vimudha, they are trying to become happy in this material world, just like I was like that before. I want to try to become happy in the world. You cannot. Dukhala Masasana. But this is the real happiness. What is that? You come in touch with pure devotee of Sri Prabhupada, Bhagavan Sri Krishna Sri Prabhupada. One, there is no other greater fortune than coming in touch with Sri Prabhupada or such great devotees, like that. So that's what I would urge all of you to do also, buy some small book and keep it and give it to, you'll really feel the bliss,
Yeah, I kept the book. I got the book, I kept it, but I don't distribute. So.
Yeah. Now try, pray to Lord Sri Prabhupada and, you'll get courage. Okay? Just, you are a lady, so you don't talk to men, but you talk to ladies, let me tell you, more out of all, women are most, I have worked with as a gynecologist, obstetrics gynecologist person. I've dealt with women, so many in my life. Other women have got very good heart, very soft heart. And that's what Lord Krishna is looking for. That's why he has so many gopis. So to become a woman has one hormone, which the man doesn't have. You know what that hormone is called? Prolactin. Prolactin is one which produces milk. Right? So man doesn't have that. So woman has a very heart, very soft heart. And that is what should be utilized in service of Lord Krishna. All mothers have love for their children. And we are all children of Lord Krishna. And we should, shower this. Because people are unaware. People are in complete maya, like that. So we are lucky we got Prabhupada mercy. So we don't need to be greedy. We just distribute it like that. So very nice talking to you, all of you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the wonderful ideas, hopefully. It was wonderful. Definitely. Yes, praying to Srila Prabhupada. Definitely. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Vanchakalpatarvyasya kripa sindhubhyasya patitanam
Namo Namah.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai Shri
All
Prabhupada.
glories to
Jai Prahlanananda Prabhuji ki jai. Happy birthday, Prabhuji, in advance.
Happy birthday, Prabhupada.
Happy birthday,
Thank you.
Prabhuji. Dandavat pranams to you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranam to all.
Thank you so much.
Everyone for joining today's class. We'll meet tomorrow.